Did you know that Apple recently bought a game developer? Well, they did, and it could point to Apple making AAA games exclusively for its ecosystem. It's one of my more hopeful predictions for Mac gaming in 2025, but you'll need to keep watching for more info. That's right, today we're diving into some predictions for Mac gaming in 2025. Some of my predictions are likely to happen, and others probably don't have a snowball's chance in hell, but it's fun to dream, right? So let's break it down. First up, let's talk about Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference, or WWDC. In recent years, Apple's been partnering with Capcom to announce big games from its Resident Evil franchise that are coming to Apple Silicon. Resident Evil 7 and Village, plus the Resident Evil 2 and 4 remakes have already made their way to the Mac, so it wouldn't be crazy to see Capcom on stage again in 2025. I could see Resident Evil 3 Remake coming over because it's the only recent remake in the franchise that's still missing on the Mac. But imagine Monster Hunter getting some love on Mac OS. It's clear that Apple wants to continue showing off how powerful its silicon is, and what better way to do it than with big-name titles like these? The question is, has Capcom been getting enough out of the deal? Sales for these games are reported to be questionable at best, so is this the year we see Capcom pull out of the Apple gaming landscape? Or what if Apple connects with another major dev to bring an entirely new franchise to its devices? We'll have to wait until June or maybe even the fall iPhone event to find out. In our next prediction, could 2025 be the year Apple finally launches an internal game development studio? Or could they buy an existing developer to make games for the Apple ecosystem? Like I mentioned off the top, they've acquired game dev studios before, starting with Playdio in 2022. After making AR games for iOS and iPadOS, Playdio was snapped up to work on what would become the Apple Vision Pro. Now, I know it's a pretty huge jump to predict that 2025 will be the year they snap up a game dev to make AAA games, but look, there have been a ton of layoffs in the industry lately. This means there's a critical mass of talented game devs looking for work. Whole teams have been let go. What if Apple hired some of these awesome devs, or even a whole team, to make games exclusively for Mac, iPhone, and iPad? With the way Apple seems to be courting AAA developers lately, hopefully these in-house Apple devs would get to work on making some kind of exclusive, prestige AAA franchise for the platform. But I'd settle for a well-crafted puzzler or a 2D side-scroller to add to the Apple Arcade lineup. Wishful thinking, but weirder things have happened. But here's the thing. Even with AAA titles, Apple's way of delivering games via the Mac App Store needs a revamp. And their solution? It's our next prediction, the rumored gaming-focused version of the App Store. Yup, it's exactly what it sounds like. Picture the App Store, but for games. It's rumored to be a single app that will help users access games from the App Store and Apple Arcade, and it's expected to have quality of life updates like better filtering and a sleeker UI. My hope is that it does a better job of highlighting discounted games and maybe even enables theme sales like Steam's seasonal events. I mean, look at the Mac App Store here. As it stands right now, it makes it next to impossible to tell if a game is on sale. Here's Disco Elysium, and it's actually on sale for 75% off right now as I'm making this video. Can you tell? You need to be familiar with the regular price of the game to verify that. Failing that, I need to go to something like AppAg or AppRaven, which will actually give me everything I need to know. Back on the App Store, the seller could have added some text about the sale to the description here, but that's really their only move to illustrate that a sale is actually happening. Some sellers do this, but others don't waste their time because it's probably not that effective. Apple telling devs and publishers to advertise sales in the text description for the game is not enough. Ideally, we'd see the original price plus the percentage off and the new price. This is exactly what Steam does, and sales are a huge part of what makes Steam successful for Windows gamers. Imagine if they didn't actually tell you when a game is on sale. The Mac App Store needs some love, so let's hope it gets that gaming-focused version that fixes these problems in 2025. Speaking of revamps, I'd love to see one come to Apple Arcade, and that's our next prediction. Imagine an Apple Arcade with better Mac support, and maybe even tiers that give you access to a more premium Mac experience with AAAs and premium indie games. A more expensive tier could sweeten the pot and help convince some devs to try their games on the service. It's a long shot, but Apple Arcade actually turned 5 years old in 2024, so I think it's time Apple gives it a bit of a refresh, especially for Mac gamers. So there you have it, my predictions, some of them likely and some of them less so for Mac gaming in 2025. For more of my experience gaming on a Mac in 2024, check out this video right here.